Yo, today I want to talk a little bit about the power of the word why, and the reflection behind the word why. I think the word why is such a beneficial and can be such a crucial thing for a lot of people these days, especially in an age where we almost search for meaning behind every single action and every single thing that we do. I think that it can either build you to be such a great person, or it can tear you down to be just something that you see a lot of these days, which is just unaccountable in a way. You see a lot of people who really don't think a lot these days behind their actions, and I think that losing the meaning of the word why, or the ability to think these days, has really pushed us to where we are as a society, because the word why is really a reflection word when it comes down to it. When you think of the word why, it really makes you think, as it's almost an unanswerable question, but I think it can put so much meaning into a lot of our lives when we just stop to think about why. And why is really such a reflection word when it comes down to it, because there's a lot of almost self-reflection that you have to do when you ask yourself why. Why really makes you think about everything that you are, everything that you have been, and everything that you can be. Whether that's as a person, as a brother, sister, wife, husband, anything that you want to be. And it really makes you think, which I think is such a lost thing these days, which is almost like hard to say, because a lot of us are just sitting here doom scrolling on our phone, on TikTok, if you work a job that you hate or something. A lot of us scroll TikTok, and we have Instagram Reels, and we have the Facebook Reels now, and YouTube Shorts, and there's just so much things that can catch our attention, that when you really lose the ability to think, you almost lose that, like, that when you lose that ability to think and ask yourself why, I feel like it almost harms you more as a person. When you ask yourself why, it's more of a reflection of yourself. And when you reflect on yourself, you start to ask yourself, or think of, why do you do the things that you do, right? Why do you go to the gym? Why do you choose to be in the profession that you're in? Why do you want to do the things that you do? Why do you say the things that you say? And when you start to think about this, I think it can really be beneficial for somebody to actually reflect on these things and think about why they do what they do. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, I also think that why is such a critical thing for people, because they almost get lost and they almost dive too deep into why. When you start thinking about getting lost in the word why, which is so easy these days, especially because all we do most times is overthink. You know, if you have a girlfriend and she's not the most communicative person, you almost dive into this overthinking of, why is she doing this? Why is she being this way? Is she out doing this? Is she out doing that? You almost dive too deep into things, right? And in a way that kind of psychs yourself out and it gets you lost. But when you really start to think about who you are as a person, when you think about why, and how it could be so beneficial to your life, you really start to think about everything around you. Recently, I've just been monitoring kind of what my actions are What do I say as a person? Where do I go? What do I do? And it is almost like tenfold increased my productivity and what I think about and the things that I want to become. Because when you think about why you eat like trash, right? It tastes good. You think about why you skip the gym. You feel good. You think about why you haven't started this business. It's too hard. And when you really ask yourself why behind the not doing these things, right? Why didn't you start this business? Okay, you felt like it was too hard. You didn't learn these things. And then you also have to ask yourself why again. The power of why, like I'm saying, is so crucial, because why extends past just the next step. When we're taught sales and you get stuck on an objection or a question or anything on a customer, you're always taught to ask why. You're always trying to get to the next step. And that next step is so important for you, especially when you ask the question why. Because in our lives, a lot of us stop at the first why, and you have to dive so much deeper than just the first why. For instance, when somebody is trying to buy a car and they say that they have to go talk to their wife. If you don't know what to say, the best thing to say is why. Why do you have to go talk to your wife? Does she wear the pants in the relationship? I think it's a question we all want to ask them, but when they say why, they kind of give you this bullshit reasoning, right? And then the next question almost is why? Why are you thinking this way? Why do you think that? Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to do that? And it's weird how much the word why, or how far the word why can get you, especially when you start diving deeper. When you peel back the layers of the onion, and you go between why. Why is almost the separation between who you are and who you want to become. If you want to start a business and you say, oh, it's too hard, ask yourself why. Why is it too hard? Oh, I don't know anything about marketing. Why don't you know anything about marketing? And then you go, oh, I could read books about marketing. Okay, but you know a lot about marketing now, but the business is still too hard. Why is it still too hard? I don't know anything about this. And as you kind of peel back those layers of the onion, you almost start to realize that it's actually not that hard. And when you realize that it's actually not that hard and you just have to start and just do things and ask yourself the question, why? Life gets so much simpler. And life can really, when you start to think and have this mindset of just nothing is real and just why, get to the bottom of the why, and life becomes unreal. Because we have these preconceived notions of ourselves in our head about this person doesn't like me, or I think that I'm fat, or whatever. You say why. Okay, why are you fat? I don't go to the gym. Go to the gym. There's so much free will and power behind the word why that you almost sound silly explaining it to somebody else, or even explaining it to yourself when you start getting in the mindset of thinking like this. And it's so weird because we always say that, oh, I have free will, I could do this, I could do that. When you start to have free will in here and not just here in your hands, life becomes a video game. And when life becomes a video game, it becomes tenfold times more fun. And it is just really, people say life's a playground. Life is a playground, but you have to start thinking like it. And we're all just in such a depressive mode all the time, or such a distracted mode all the time on our phones, or doing this, doing that, hanging out. put away the distractions, and when you ask yourself and get in the mentality of why, you will grow so much more. And as I kind of bring this to a close, I just want to remind you, don't become trapped in the power of why. As I kind of mentioned earlier, the power of why being so beneficial to not only your mindset, but yourself and the people around you. You can also get lost in the power of why, because you can dive so deep down into it that it almost doesn't help you at times. When you think about it, you can ask why to every single question in your life and reflect on every single thing. Why did they treat me that way? Why did they leave me? Why did I get fired? Why? Why? Ask why to everything. You can do it, but don't get trapped. When you start asking why to the wrong things, you'll get stuck in the past. And specifically when you ask these questions of what I just said, why did they leave me? Why did they treat me this way? You have to move on from why sometimes. I know that contradicts what I was just talking about, but when you are truly free in the mind and you're not trapped in the soul of what was or the soul of what's trying to bring you down, why gets you so far.